Hello, everybody. Today's class the topic will be becoming godlike to remove our limits. So, in our last class, we spoke about the alchemist, which without his materials, he essentially becomes worthless, right? Because this is how he does his magic. He converts matter into his own magic. He says metal, he can convert this metal into this amazing, gold or whatever that he claimed he was doing. So we have the situation in which of the alchemist, you have to see to believe it. It's something physical that he's able to transform. There's this concept that this book talks about that is the concept of yesh mi yesh, which typically man can associate to something coming from something else. So, for example, I want to make cheese, I ferment the milk, and I make cheese. I want, I want to make here, water. I can take water, put it into the freezer. Now I made ice cubes. So it's this element of converting matter, so that something has to come from something else. You mix different colors, two colors, and you make a new color. So in this situation, in this chapter, what we're learning is that Hashem's method is very different. Hashem's method is yesh me'ayin, something that is resonating, something that is coming from absolutely nothing, which goes against all human nature. How could you make something from nothing? And when you accept that something could come from nothing, then now you have full trust in God. And you basically will live on this other, totally different planet where you're not living in the conventional way of everybody else is doing. In essence, what you're doing is that your potential is no longer limited. What does that mean? For example, we might say, "Oh, I can only run so far because then I get tired." That you're only limited by your own talents. That's what you might say, and say, "Oh, I can only jump so high. I can only run so fast. I'm not, I don't have the skills that he has or that she has, and I'm not able to achieve my goals like they can. Oh wow, look, they have a family. How I can't even. I go crazy with one kid. How does that family have 5 kids?" So we're constantly looking at what our limitations are and our constraints. But that's not bitachon. Bitachon is basically leaving your limits to Hashem, leaving your limits to God, and saying, having basically no limits, and knowing that any limitation that is imposed on you will be imposed from above, not from you physically or not from other human beings. So in this essence, we kind of have to become godlike in this situation. We have to be above human nature in order to achieve, that level of success, to surpass our limits. Just an example. I mean, I never thought that I could do this class every day. It's a struggle. It's very hard, and I still don't achieve to do, myself to doing it every day. But again, I'm constantly praying to Hashem and, asking for help every day to have the strength to sit down and learn and be able to do this. And eventually, hopefully, I'm hoping I'm going to surpass those limits. And basically, there's a pasuk that's written. We also talk about, before the pasuk, we also talk about the manna. When we receive the manna, that this is the manna was a certain amount of food that was designated for all the Jews when they were encamping in the desert. They were given a certain portion of food, and all the portion for everybody was exactly to their needs, whether they're a family of 2, a family of 10, a family of 5. That portion was calculated and given to them. Of course, the distance of where the manna would land in front of their lawn depended on how righteous they were. If they were very righteous, it would be right at their doorstep. If they weren't as righteous, it might be farther in the field. They would have to go get it. So this shows you that Hashem calculates exactly what is needed for each and every single one of us. There's a pasuk that says, to make you know that not by bread alone does man live. What does this mean? Is some sort of Shakespeare setting, or who mentioned this? This pasuk comes from the Torah. And if we're not going to rely on bread to survive, then what does man live on? That's the question. So the pasuk follows by saying, Ki al kol motza pi Hashem yechia adam. Rather, by everything that emanates from the mouth of God does man live. This means that when we're eating a piece of bread, we shouldn't think that it's the piece of bread that is giving us life. Think about that. We're not eating in order to survive. It's not the food itself that's giving us letting us be alive today. It is the yesh me'ayin. It's something from nothing. Let's get back to that. A person who depends on this bread to live may not always find this bread to live. And it might come a time where that bread is not going to become available to him. But if he depends on Hashem, then he's always going to find this bread. So you got to think of the reverse. So if you're having a hard time at work right now, if you're having a hard time financially, remember, you're not relying on your job. You should not rely on your job in order to have the money to pay your bills. Rely on Hashem, and Hashem's going to make it that your bills will get paid with whatever job it is that you entail. I hope you enjoyed this class. Thank you very much. Have yourself a wonderful day.